Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of
The Loud Ones podcast.
I am your host, Nas B, and in front of me is my beautiful host,
Dany B.
And so this week we're going to be getting into something very different from last week. Last week we talked about dancehall culture, our top 5 for hip hop, and a whole bunch of other stuff.
Yes.
This week we wanted to take a different turn, and we wanted to talk about the millennial woman.
Yes.
So we definitely wanted to kind of delve into some of our personal experiences being millennials, some of the experiences that we've seen other people kind of go through, and just we have a whole host of shit that we want to talk about.
Yeah.
So you want to start off kind of what's the timeline and then maybe the definition of like millennial?
So millennials are people born or young adults and adults born between the years of 1981 to 1996.
Yes.
Basically, a millennial is basically like just a young person in the 21st century. A lot of the times, I feel like people have a bad connotation about millennials, which is kind of sad, but it is. I mean, I can understand why they feel like that, but it's from a biased standpoint, and from lack of understanding.
I think it's not only lack of understanding. I think it's a lack of ability and capability.
Right.
I think that a lot of times it comes from a negative place because they're not able to do the things that we do at the pace that we do them.
Yes,
and so
especially in the workplace.
Yes, and I think from that perspective that people are like kind of turned off by millennials. So that's one perception. What are other perceptions that you think society has of millennials?
I think I have a few, but I'm gonna just get into like one or two right now. I feel like a lot of the times in our lives with our parents, in our work life, and just in a general stance, people feel like we don't have any patience.
Yes.
And I don't think that it's that we don't have any patience. We're just forward thinking.
Yes.
We're the generation that thinks like, time is not going to wait for us.
Yes.
And people don't realize that it's coming from a place of time waits for no one, and then on top of it, we're seeing our friends die.
Yeah.
We're seeing that happen a lot. So we're afraid that, in my mind, we're afraid that, like if we don't hurry up and get things done, we're gonna fall behind.
I think that, to your point, that generations before us put effectiveness over efficiency. I think that with millennials, we put efficiency over effectiveness. And I say that because we're looking to how do we do things at a smarter and faster. But still packs the same punch.
Yes.
Versus people before us thought about things a little differently.
Yeah.
And anyone that works in development or anything product development and things like that, then you would know like the waterfall methodology is similar to what I'm saying versus agile.
Yes.
So I think that, to your point, I definitely agree with that. I also think that another perception is that we're not as hardworking.
Yes.
And that also goes to what I'm saying as far as putting efficiency over effectiveness. I think that's because people feel like, for instance, we don't want to grind it out.
Yeah.
Right? People go to jobs, they stay there for like 20, 30 years, or they'll wait 4 or 5 years for a position to open up for them to go for promotion, when we're one of those people where we're going to gather ourselves and what our worth is, bring to the table and go knock on our boss's office and say, hey, this is what you need to be paid and I want a raise. Yeah. And I need a promotion or press hard for it. Because we are one of those people that can pick up a skill in just in this very, very short time and then be able to be really good at it.
Yeah, I think that there are misconceptions with that because of the fact that they haven't realized that I don't think that we don't want to grind it out. I feel like that is why we are working so hard. We work very hard as millennials. At this day and age, I've seen more people graduate college than I've seen prior to. And I don't know if it's because we have social media or whatever, but I feel like we do grind it out. We just move smarter. Yes. We don't complicate things, and we move at a pace. Like, we have the internet. Yes.
I think we have our generation produced more entrepreneurs and more inventors more than anything. Because I say that because historically, when you look back at things, we can kind of recall specific inventors of things. I think now we're considered inventors, innovators, and things like that. But I think that we are not just going into the workforce to work a 9 to 5.
Yeah, we want also, more out of life.
We're looking at how can we build an empire? Yeah. And we're not just looking at other people and saying, oh, that's them, they can do that, I'm going to be working 9 to 5. Yeah. So I definitely think that that's one thing that we can say about our generation. And I think a lot of other generations are envious of that because they don't feel like they have the right opportunity, or we didn't do it the right way, or whatever. Yeah. And a lot of times people I know that think millennials are lazy, because what millennials, and some of the millennials that I know is, okay, especially because now that we have laptops and stuff, I don't know if you okay, see where I'm going with this. Say a person from a past generation sees me and you on the couch on our laptop all day. They would say we're not doing anything. When reality is I'm working and I'm building an empire. I can be building a website. I can be building an app. I can be communicating. I can make money off of my laptop without moving. I can make money on my phone without doing anything. But because the past generations, they want to see you in the fields almost, right? Doing things and being proactive and up and down, phone calls here, da-da-da-da.
It's because, again, their mindset has not evolved with the time. They don't understand that, you don't have to work harder. Yes. We work smarter. We don't work as hard. So they think that we're not doing anything, but we are doing anything. We're doing a lot. We're making money in our sleep when you guys had to work hard. And it's fine. Like, their generations before that, I'm pretty sure your generation, like my mom's generation before my mom was born, probably thought that my mom was lazy, or my mom didn't work hard enough, or she did something, but we've evolved. So, while I feel like, their misconceptions are valid, I feel like they should also try to understand us. They should understand that, we're trying to make life easier for you, because we're not trying to create just household wealth. We're trying to create generational wealth.
Exactly.
Wealth that really goes longer. Like, and people don't realize, like, setting your child up for life is something that we want to do. We want to be better than what our parents was. So that's what I want our parents, and not even our parents, just people, our elders, to understand, it that we want the same thing that you wanted for your kids, but we're just doing it different.
But not only that, we also are not afforded the same opportunities of like a pension. Back in the day, every company offered a pension. We're only offered 401ks. There's only a handful of companies that still offer pensions. So now we have to say we need multiple streams of revenue, so that we are able to provide for ourselves and our family. Freedom. At a certain point, Social Security is not going to be around. Yeah. It's going to be depleted. Yeah. So there's a bunch of things that we are not afforded that the generation before us and generation before us was. So we obviously are going to be working amongst them still, but thinking completely differently and working towards a different goal, because they have things to fall back on that we may not have. So that's a lot different. So I want to talk about, we're both working women. So what do you think people think about us in the workforce? And I'm saying us as just millennials, like millennial women.
I think that they think that we are. One thing I do think is that I have to separate us from men. Yeah. I feel like in the workplace, they do take millennial women serious.
I think we're a threat.
They see us as a threat.
Yeah, we're definitely a threat.
Because, and I'm sorry, not to knock nobody else, but black women,
especially
in
black
the
women.
workplace, we are a threat.
Especially when we have our voice.
Because, and we're stamped as a threat. We're not, they never see us as ever growing. They never see us as evolving. They always see us as a threat. But honestly, when you have a person that knows what they're doing, not for nothing, we are a threat. We are a threat. Because we're not settling for the shit that you think you can give us.
Yeah.
We're not going to settle.
And we call bullshit when we see bullshit.
Exactly. But you know what? People want you to, that's what, you know, the workforce thrives on. Fear. Like companies like Apple and companies like evolved millennial.
Google.
Yes.
Google's a big one.
Yes.
Facebook.
Those companies, if you realize how much they're growing.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say it's because of the black woman, because I don't know a lot of black people who work at Google, but I'm just saying for millennials.
Yeah.
Because they respect the millennial person, they grow and they're moving. Apple is like consistently making money.
I think I agree with that. I think that we're seen as threats. Being a woman, being a millennial on top of that. I think that another thing that people see us as is also because this is the thing. I think, I don't know, because then that's kind of one and the same, being intimidated anyways. But I think people see us as innovators because women naturally are the fixers. We're naturally the ones thinking about new ways to do things because of the challenges that we face as a woman daily. So I think that we're seen as the innovators. Now, that can hurt us or help us at times because from my personal experience working with the company that I work for, at times there could be people who just want to do things the old way.
Yeah.
For instance, people want to do things and have it documented on paper, where I'm like, oh, let's just do this electronically, email it over.
Yeah.
And then we save space, XYZ, or create formulas so that I don't need to keep filling something out for pages and pages. I can just have something formula driven. So I think that when people see that and they're like, oh, here's this bitch that wants to change things. She wants to create new things. Some people take that, they get very frustrated with that. Because oftentimes in my career, my job is to be innovative and look to make things more efficient.
Right.
So that's very, very, very big in my career. So a lot of times when I go and look at a process, people get so upset when they're like, when I question, like, why do you do these things? Like, why? Because in my mind, I'm not trying to be rude, but like, why didn't you think about doing something faster if you already have like the tools to do it? It just frustrates the shit out of me.
Their mind doesn't move like ours. We're always trying to make something better.
Career wise. Where did you think you would have been?
So that's actually a really good thing to ask. So this is something I do want to talk about. People don't understand like the millennial struggle.
Yeah.
Because you can have this perfect picture of how your life is going to go, and you can think that, everything is going to be beautiful and it's just going to go as planned. And it doesn't. That's something that I can say, like, the older generations have over us, is that they have more strength when it comes to, dealing with things when they don't go your way. And that's kind of what promoted me to follow God, because it's kind of hard to see everybody's life going so great, or see this false depiction on social media.
Yeah.
And then your life, which you pictured was going so well, or should have gone so well, didn't go like how it went at all.
Yeah.
Got through college. We had a great time through college, just being fun, having all of those things. And that's something I can say that we do need to do as millennials, is listen to our parents when they say certain things, because they do know what they're talking about, because history repeats itself.
Yeah.
I went through college, did all that stuff. had a great job graduating college. It wasn't in my field. Got fired. You get fired and you're there for 6 months looking for a job.
It's hard.
When I tell you, it is so hard.
Yeah.
To fight off the demons of depression and anxiety.
And I think that also
riddles our generation.
Depression, anxiety. That's a whole nother episode.
It riddles our mind because we're not prepared for that.
Yeah.
We're not prepared for that defeat.
So I veered off a little bit from what I originally thought I was going to do. So I had 2 career paths, one in fashion and one being a finance analyst. And I don't know, I always wanted to be a finance analyst. And then I started going to school for fashion. Took a semester off because freaking financial aid didn't come in enough time. And so when I re-registered for school, they accidentally coded something wrong in the system and changed my major without me knowing. So I ended up getting a different degree. And then from there on, I was like, you know what, fuck it. Let me just finish it out. And then my second degree I got in finance. When I graduated early. So when I graduated in December, I got a job in my industry like a month later. I was lucky because a lot of the people, my fellow graduates, did not have that same experience. And so I have been lucky to be in the same field and career and be able to be successful. But I have struggled with the millennial itch of wanting to pursue my other dreams and goals, which at times it takes longer to get to the bag when you do certain things. And sometimes you fall into the trap of being an adult and wanting to have a certain lifestyle, but not necessarily follow your dreams. So where I was, I'm like, okay, fine. Like, I think where I am now, I'm happy where I am. I mean, there's things where I thought I would be different, but I would say that it panned out to kind of be what I was thinking.
Okay. My career path was originally to be a doctor. And because, and I still have hopes of like maybe pursuing something very close. Like, well, not.
You'd be a physician assistant.
Yeah, that's what I'm going for.
All you need is a 4-year degree.
Yeah. So, that's something that we didn't talk about. Like, that's something as a millennial we didn't do. Pay attention to the fact that when we're in college, we're not supposed to be bullshitting. We're there to get our education. I bullshitted in my undergrad. I didn't fail out or anything, but I just wasn't a contender to go straight to to medical school. And this is how I'm just gonna give you a little just a sum of what happened. I went, I got my good job after college. Went to school for 1 year or was going to grad school, getting a post back. And I just realized this isn't for me right now. Like I need to take a break because right now it's not for me. That was a bad decision, but I think it was the best decision I made.
Okay.
Shortly after that, maybe like a year and a half later, I lost my job. I was unemployed for 6 months. I thank God that I wasn't depressed, and I thank God for my friends and my family and my mom and just everybody in my support system for being there for me because they definitely helped me get through that. And then I ended up getting a job in a hospital, something I had been trying to get for years. Yeah. And now in my life is where I'm finally in the path back into my degree. I'm back in school. I got 1 more year left. I got a new job in it.
Are you going for your graduates?
Yeah. Okay. In histotechnology, and I now have a job using my degree in the lab. So it takes time, especially if you're not planning right. So for the people who are in this generation of millennials, I just say that think ahead. that's something I want to say. Like, we think about the future, but sometimes we have to think about the little moments. And that's just a bit of advice I give to our millennials, because we're following social media and we believe that social media is reality, and it's really not.
And create your own path. I think that don't follow someone else's path, because that outcome is not going to be the same. Because me being one of 5 children, my siblings have kind of pushed me to kind of follow similar paths that they were on. All my sisters went to big colleges. I decided to stay in the city on purpose because I didn't want to end up with that hefty bill. And not be able to live my life. I wanted to make sure I'm able to pay off whatever I need to.
You thought about it right.
I thought about things differently. I figured as long as I work hard, I can get to where I want to be. And as long as I played the game right, and making sure that every year or two I'm questioning myself, my position, my career, and my value. And I'm always assessing and reassessing and assessing my value, my market value, my knowledge, my skill set, and what I can do. And I'm always looking at what's trending in the industry that I'm in, so that I can stay ahead of my peers. So I'm lucky to have that mindset, because I've seen my friends, relatives, whatever, follow very differently and kind of get stuck, which other generations tend to do. So I want to know, our parents at our age, what was your mom doing?
My mom, just briefly go into it. My mom, she she was my age, she was nowhere near where I am right now. She was, you know, like, she had just came up from Jamaica at that time, 1971 she came in. I think she was like 18 or 19. I don't remember how old, but when she was my age, she wasn't even married yet. She, you know, she hadn't really developed her lifestyle, but, you know, it was different at that time. You know, it was.
My mom was on her 4th child and married.
My mom didn't even get. My mom was a late married. She married late. She got married when she was 29, and she had my siblings, and then she had me when she was 40. So, you know, I feel like my mom was in a different space. My dad, I'm not too familiar where he was at the time. But yeah, my parents, I don't think our struggle is much different. My mom hadn't even I feel like I've superseded my parents' goals for me, because, you know, even though I had hiccups, I still stayed strong, and I think that's what my parents really just wanted for me, to just have some form of independence. Even though I lean on them sometimes, I still feel like, you know, I was able to form some kind of independence.
I definitely agree with you, because my mom always I've surpassed what she wanted for me, but at my mom's age, she definitely was married with 4 kids at the time, and things like that. Really quickly, so guys, we're going to be doing a part 2 of this episode, because this episode, we have a lot that we want to get into. The conversation is, I think, a very big conversation to have about millennial women. I don't have a Nas B for this week. We can save it for the next episode, and we can kind of get into that. But we just really wanted to start the conversation about millennials, and we wanted to start it with women, because we are women.
Yes, because there is a part 2 to this episode. We really want you guys to send your feedback in regards to this.
And what you want us to talk about in the next episode, so that we can make sure that we kind of bring you guys into the conversation.
We do really want you guys to have a kind of feel for it. So we would really love your feedback on, like, things that you feel like millennials do, and how you feel like it impacts your community and impacts you as a whole in our community. I would say that. As a whole. So please send us our feedback. Please look on our Instagram page and all of that good stuff.
The Loud Ones Podcast on Instagram. You can email us. Your input, that's going to be at theloudonespodcast@gmail.com.
And we'll have we will definitely have, like, a question and answer kind of session
on our IG.
On our IG for that specific topic.
Yes. So follow me at always _Nas on IG. And then Dany, what's yours?
At Dany Bonaducci, and also follow us on Twitter at Loud Ones Podcast.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you guys again so much for listening and just giving your reviews and, just promoting. Like, I really want to thank you guys for that. It means the whole world.
Yes, shouts out to you guys. So
yes.
we really appreciate our listeners. So until next time, guys, thank you again for listening to us and tuning in. This will be up on YouTube again. The YouTube page is the Loud Ones Podcast on YouTube. So our videos are definitely coming. So
yes,
guys.
Thank you guys.